Hi, this is Kevin Trainer. I'd like to welcome you to the tutorial Physical Data Modeling Part 3. And this is the third in this series. And if you haven't listened to 1 and 2, I invite you to do that. In this third tutorial, we're working on the next step of what I've called here, for the purposes of the work that we're doing, physical data modeling. That covers really what proper data modelers would call logical data design and physical database design. So these are considerations that primarily have to do with the details of the data store technology that you've chosen, okay? And we've chosen, in between when we did our conceptual data model and this one, we've chosen a relational database. So the kind of things that we've done so far have been to work with a relational database. And so now we are going to do the next point, which is we need to pick types for each of the attributes that we have on the entity types. And of course, at this point, we know that these entity types from the conceptual data model are going to be implemented as relational database tables. And the attributes are going to become columns in each of the tables. Okay, and each column has a type. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to pick the right type, and we're going to want to show it on the diagram, because when we go to set up our relational database, we're going to make sure that we have all the proper data types for the columns. So there really are two parts to this. One is to understand the types that we can pick from and what we might use them for. And the other is to figure out how to make this happen on a Visio diagrammer. Now, I've got to tell you that the Visio diagrammer is kind of bulky. Here we're using Visio 2013. And Visio 2013 is only really so good at adding these fields, and it's a little difficult. I'm going to ask for your patience. Okay, so we're going to start on this in just a moment. Okay, now we're back, and I want to apologize for the screen popping around a little bit. What I'm getting ready to do is to do battle with the Visio diagrammer, and wanted to make sure that I had it working right. So, so the first question you have is, well, how do I get the data types to show up on the Visio diagram that we're using? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to left click on the entity type, or now table as it really is. And once I've done that, then I can right click, and I get a drop down box, and the very top choice is show attribute types. So that's a nice kind of a start. And what you can see is that now we've got two pieces of information for each of the attributes, or what at this point are the columns. Okay, and the default that you get in this version of Visio is that it says that it's an int. Okay, so what kind of types are possible? Well, there are numeric types, okay, and the the word int is short for integer, which of course are whole numbers. And these are very popular for sort of arbitrary keys like student ID. Okay? Since our diagrammer says int instead of integer, I will just take the shortcut. Okay? Another kind of popular type is a character. Okay? And there are a couple of ways to saying it. You can say character, and then in parentheses you can say how long it's going to be. So that's a fixed length character string. So you might say character parens 20. You might say varchar, or varchar as people say, which is a varying character string. And sometimes they'll put in parentheses a limit to how long it can be, typically somewhere between 1 and 255. Okay, what we're going to do here for our purposes is we're either going to say character or varchar, depending upon whether we want it to be fixed or variable. And variable is very appealing. So again, we look at our diagram, and we see that we have student ID as an int. I'm not going to change that to integer, which is the more standard term for SQL. But I am, when I get the student name, I'm going to click over here. So I'm going to left click on that box, and I'm going to left click again, and I'm going to left click it again. And now I've got 3 left clicks in a row over top of that lower right box where it said int. Finally gets me a gray outline. And now I can type over it. So I'm going to type character. And that doesn't really fit. So let's just say char. Okay? Oh, I'm sorry. I want this one to be variable. So let's say varchar. That looks like it fits. Okay, and now I'm going to left click outside the box. So that's how I got that done. All right, so let's go down and do instructor, which we're going to do the same way. Okay, now, do we need a first name and a last name? Now, that's kind of interesting. One of the things that people often do about this point is that they start to take these things apart and have a first name and a last name. And I'm thinking, geez, that would be a good design. So let's go back, and let's say that's student first name. Okay. And let's create another one. Insert attribute after, and let's call that student last name. So we made an improvement. Now left click over int, you see the gray thing, and we'll say that's varchar 2. Okay. All right, so now let's go down to instructor ID. We'll left click on the box overall, then right click on the box overall, choose show attributes. Okay, and we've got int for the ID, that's fine. Instructor name, let's have instructor first name. Okay, and let's click over here till we get the gray box, varchar. Okay, and then highlight it on, so you want another attribute. And I'm going to have instructor last name. And I'm going to make that a varchar as well. Whoop, that was not what I wanted. So I'm going to hit the undo key. And now I want to left click on that right box till I get the gray outline. Sometimes I have a hard time getting that to work. And I'm going to type in varchar. Okay, So again, that's a variable length character string. Now I've kind of messed up the relationship between system user and instructor. And maybe that would be good to maybe pull over here, something like this. Okay. It's not behaving. So let's try it again. Sometimes it can be really challenging to get these things to work. Okay, that seems to be working a little bit better. And I don't know that it had a name on it before, but it certainly doesn't have a name now. But we'll fix that before we're done. Okay. All right. So what other things could we give data types to? Well, let's come across the top. So we have the student and the instructor done. Let's do the registration. Okay. Most of these IDs, if they're just some kind of arbitrary number, it works out well to have them just be integers, which here we're using the abbreviation int. And in a lot of implementations of SQL, you can simply use the abbreviation int and it works just fine. So left click on the box, right click show attribute types. Semester ID is an int, course number can be an int, section ID, let's have that be an int. Student ID, let's have that be an int as well. Okay, because that's what it is over there. So that looks fine. Now let's click off of that. Let's go to course offering and show attribute types. So semester ID, course number, and section ID are all ints. That's fine. Semester name, course location. Now, semester name, course name, and course location are kind of in the wrong spot. We haven't fixed that problem yet, but why don't we give them an appropriate type for what kind of things they are. So the semester name is, I think, appropriately a varchar. So I'm going to highlight that line with a left click on top of int and say varchar. Course name, same thing. So I'm going to highlight the line and then right click over top of int, varchar. Course location, let's make that a character string as well. Varchar. Okay. Days and times, same deal. Varchar. Okay, so we've got that done. All right. So we're making progress. And let's go to a couple more. So class meeting. I'm thinking that all these things except the date are going to be ints. So we're going to be able to take the default. So left click on the box for the table. Sorry, to select it. Let me click off of it. Select the box, right click, show attribute types. So int is fine. Meeting date. There are several kinds of dates in relational databases. But one good standard is just the type date. Okay, so we don't want to change the name. We want to right click over here and change the type, date. Okay, that's fine. And we're going to keep a class meeting password for that meeting. So let's make that a varchar. The instructor name and the course name. Now, I'm going to tell you that these are in the wrong spot, okay? We're going to fix these when we get to getting rid of denormalized data or unnormalized data, but let's just pretend and say, well, an instructor name could be a varchar. Perhaps we're going to store it all together. And the course name could be a varchar as well. These are redundant data that we're not going to need here, but we can only fix so many things at a time. Okay? All right. So as long as we're ever on system user, why don't we do the same thing? Left click for the highlight the box, right click and show attributes. User ID is typically not an int. It's typically a character string. And it's typically variable length. So keep left clicking over there till you get the gray box and say it's a varchar. The email address, same thing. That would be a varchar. The password, okay, we might have a special type for passwords, but let's just assuming we're going to keep it as a string and we're not going to give it any special treatment. Okay, now here's a new type. This is a yes/no. We want to know if this user is entitled to act as a system admin. And I'm going to give it a type Boolean, which means it can be set to either true or false. Okay. And then we've got 3 roles. Again, we have repeating attributes here, which we're going to fix when we get to normalization, but we haven't fixed yet. So let's say that they're going to be varchars, which will probably serve them well once we get them in their own table. Okay, so we still have design issues. Okay, but again, I'm trying to do this in a reliable way so we can kind of do it by the numbers. All right, and I have somehow run into trouble here. Oh, okay, so I think I'm okay. Now what do I have? I don't have the types on attendance yet. So left click on the box, right click, show attributes. So student ID was an int, semester ID was an int, course number is an int, section ID is an int, meeting date is a date. So let's keep clicking on that till we get the gray box and say that that's a date. So at this point, we have all these things that we need. Okay, so looking across the top, we've got the, we picked the data types for the attributes, which now we should start thinking about as columns. Okay, what we were calling entity types in the conceptual data model, well, now they're tables. And what we were calling attributes, well, now they're going to be columns. Okay, so let's look across. Everything across the top has got a data type. And it looks like the things down at the bottom have a data type. And we had one other problem, which is the relationships between system user and student and system user and instructor are not correct. And there's 2 problems with them. One is that the cardinality is wrong on the instructor one that I drew, but I'm going to fix that. So we're saying that each student, if we read down to the cardinality, is associated with one and only one system user. Okay, that's fine. Any system user is associated with 0 or 1 students, because if it's not a student, then it's going to be an instructor. So I'm going to give it a relationship name. I'm just going to call it isStudent. Okay? And now I'm going to fix this one here. At least I think I am. Let's see if I can get that to work a little bit better. All right, I straightened it out. Now I need to say that the cardinalities are at the wrong ends. So I need to change those. I need to swap those. So the begin symbol is one and only one. So let's change that to 0 or 1. And then the end symbol should be set to one and only one. So we're saying for each instructor, it has one and only one system user. And for each system user, it may be an instructor or it may not. It could be a student. And now I'm going to call this one is instructor. Okay. So I think we've repaired the model, and we've given, we've chosen data types for the columns. And if we were to go ahead and do the data definition language in SQL to create the tables, we pretty much have, if not all the information we need, we have a lot of the information that we need. So I'm going to say bye until next time. Bye-bye.